How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have an exciting one for you guys today. But before we start, if you guys could subscribe to the channel or like the video, I'd really appreciate it. It keeps me motivated to keep bringing amazing content every single day. But anyways, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into it. The Seattle Seahawks are looking to take the next step after losing early in the playoffs in each of the past 2 years, and the recent trade for safety Jamal Adams suggests they believe in their prospects this season. Having Russell Wilson at quarterback is a great starting point, as he had the highest PFF last season and has taken his game to a new level over the past 2 years. Defensively, the Seahawks have improved from the back to front, and getting the secondary back on track may be just what they need to return to the Super Bowl. Until last season, Wilson had a handful of games in which he looked like one of the league's best, and also a handful in which he completely looked off. But the 2019 season saw him eliminate those poor outings en route to the best grade of his career. Wilson has annually been a top 8 quarterback since entering the league in 2012, but he's taken his game to the next level over the past 2 years. The question now is if the Seahawks are willing to put more on his plate rather than leaning on a run-first attack. While Wilson certainly benefits from a heavy play action and downfield shots that play to his strengths, as perhaps the best deep ball thrower in the game, Seattle's offense could reap the benefits of having the ball in their best playmakers' hands more often. Moving on into the running backs for the Seahawks, a few running backs have made defenders miss more often than Chris Carson, who has forced 0.20 missed tackles per rush in his 3 years in the league, 10th best in the NFL during that time. Carson has made the most of his superb run blocking, averaging 3.4 yards after contact in his career, and running equally well in both gap and zone schemes. On the downside, Carson's 8 fumbles tied for the worst single season total by a running back this decade, though that high fumble rate should return to normal in 2020 hopefully. The backup job will be Carlos Hyde's, at least until Rashad Penny is healthy after tearing an ACL late last season. Penny has averaged a 5.3 yards per carry on just 154 rushes, though that has been aided in part by a few breakaway runs. Overall, he hasn't really contributed as much as Seattle would likely hoped after being taken in the first round of the 2018 draft. Hyde ran well last year for the Texans, his 4th team in 3 years, by the way, and earned the highest rushing grade of his career, which was a 77.2 as a result. He'll provide little in the passing game. He's earned a career's worth of below average receiving grades, but he can spell Carson if he runs as he did last season. Seattle also adds 4th rounder DJ Dallas to the mix, a former receiver who can contribute in the passing game. The Seahawks have a solid group of running backs that is made even better if Penny is healthy and given more opportunities. For the second straight season, Tyler Lockett posted the top receiving grade for Seattle. This time ranking 10th with an 83.2 grade, including the playoffs. Lockett looked like a 3rd round steal as a rookie in 2015, but he's taken his game to the next level over the past 2 years when targeting him, and he's been open on 62.2% of his targets in single coverage over the past 2 years, the 19th best out of 101 qualifiers. On the other side, DK Metcalf proved to be an excellent fit as a rookie, ranking 15th with 362 yards on deep passes. Metcalf has a freakish combination of size and speed, and Seattle used him down the field on slants, playing to his skill set and making life difficult for opposing defenses. It was a revolving door beyond the top 2 last season. We'll see a heated competition for the number 3 role once again. David Moore has been an effective downfield threat, averaging 17.8 yards per reception on his 45 catches in his 2 years of playing time. Philip Dorsett comes in as a free agent. While he hasn't lived up to the first round hype, he uses his 4.33 speed to get behind the defense, often enough for Russell Wilson to take advantage. Metcalf and Lockett are enough to keep defenses honest and heavy, but a number 3 option emerging could really take this group to another level. For tight ends, Seattle has attacked this position with volume, with veteran Greg Olsen being added to the mix this offseason. Olsen is 3 years removed from being one of the league's best receiving tight ends, but he's been banged up and his play has tapered off over the past 3 years. Still, he's an effective route runner who can win one-on-one on the outside. It's worth seeing what he has to offer as he heads into the 14th season of his career. Will Disley was incredibly productive last season with 262 yards and 4 touchdowns in just 6 games. Good for an 87.1 receiving grade. It's difficult to project a similar return, but he took a big step forward after being drafted in the 4th round as a run block specialist with a 4.87 speed. Then there is Jacob Hollister, who led this tight end group with 412 yards last season to go with a 64.5 receiving grade that ranked 38th out of 120 qualifiers. Veteran Luke Wilson also returns to compete for snaps, and the Seahawks drafted Colby Parkinson, a big-bodied, contested catch specialist out of Stanford in the 4th round. There are plenty of solid options at tight end for the Seahawks, but their best-case scenario is the rejuvenated Olsen combined with Disley, proving that his big plays have not been a fluke, hopefully. Now, the Seahawks have ranked among the worst offensive lines in the league in the recent years, and last season was no different as they finished 27th in the final rankings. Left tackle Dwan Brown has brought some stability to the line since joining Seattle, as his 82 overall grade ranks 13th amongst offensive tackles since 2017. No other Seahawk O-lineman graded above 63.2 during that time frame, which shows just how important Brown has been. He's allowed pressure on just 4.6% of dropbacks, 11th best among tackles over the past 3 seasons. Veterans Brandon Shell and Cedric, I don't even know how to say that last name, I gotta be honest, will compete to take over for Jermaine at right tackle. Shell has been better over the past 3 seasons, grading at 64.9 overall, good for 47th among tackles. You know, guys, this O-line, they didn't really upgrade it that much in this last season. The Seahawks entered 2020 with plenty of question marks with this offensive line and definitely up front. It will take unexpected development from multiple players to get them into the top half of the league. I can't see this O-line even being top 20 this coming season, but who knows? I guess we'll see, won't we? With Jadeveon Clowney still unsigned at the time, of course, as well, Seattle's best defensive lineman from 2019 isn't on the roster anymore, and the gap between him and the next best player is not small. Poona Ford has impressed in the NFL so far, but more as a run defender than as any kind of a pass rush force, and he has just 19 total pressures over 2 years. Jerron Reed looked like he might develop into an all-around force before legal issues did sideswipe his career and he didn't look like the same player. In 2018, he recorded 55 total pressures and earned solid grades across the board, but he was markedly worse in 2019. Much will also be expected of LJ Collier, the team's 2019 first-round pick. That draft selection was something of a surprise to most, and his 48.6 PFF grade on just 152 snaps won't have helped that impression. Collier had just 1 hurry from 86 pass rushing snaps, an impressive lack of production. If he can't make a sizable leap forward in 2020, it's difficult to see where the pressure will come from. Tennessee's Darrell Taylor, the team's 2nd-round pick this year, was similarly underwhelming prospect but represents a significant investment they will likely expect to contribute. Bruce Irvin returns for a 2nd stint with the team that drafted him in the 1st round back in 2012, but Irvin hasn't earned a pass rush grade north of 70 since his 2nd season in Seattle. Rasheem Green saw north of 500 snaps a season ago, but had below average grades in all facets of play and just 30 total pressures from 376 rushes. Last season, the team experimented with deploying Shaquem Griffin on the edge as a situational pass rusher despite his weight. To generate some pressure, obviously, he flashed occasionally but ended up with just 10 pressures on 94 rushes. The Seahawks defensive line was hugely dependent on Jadeveon Clowney in 2019. If they don't have him for 2020, they need to find a new source of pass rush. Even with Bobby Wagner taking a step back last season, the Seahawks have the best linebacking corps in the league. Wagner has the 2nd best overall grade in league over the past 2 years with a 90.5. Finally, the recently retired Luke Kuechly. Wagner is the only linebacker in the last 2 years showing that he's the best all-around player at the position. He's flanked by KJ Wright, who is coming off the lowest grade of his career, 59.9, but put up marks of at least 65 or better in each of those other 8 years. Wright brings a long presence to the Seahawks' zone-heavy scheme, and like Wagner, he can play the run and blitz at a level among the league's best. When Wright is back to form, he and Wagner make one of the league's best duos. Despite the strength of the linebacker, the Seahawks took a forward-thinking approach in the draft with first-rounder Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech. Brooks had the 5th best overall grade in the nation last year, which was a 90.5, and his 91.5 mark in the run game ranked 4th. He fits the Seahawks brand of physicality and athleticism, with the only question being how many plays he makes in coverage. He had just one pass breakup on over 1,300 career coverage snaps in college. Seattle has a solid group of backups as well, starting with 2019 draft picks Cody Barton and Ben Burr-Kirven. Barton saw the field for 253 snaps last season, grading at just 56.6, while Ben had the 5th best grade in the nation among linebackers in 2018 at 91.2, but played just 4 snaps as a rookie. Shaquem Griffin also cycles back and forth between linebacker and edge rusher. Though he struggled in coverage as a rookie, the Seahawks are loaded at linebacker and are in good shape for both the short and long term. The so-called Legion of Boom is long gone, obviously, and Seattle is now trying to put together a unit worthy of succeeding it. Shaquille had a career year after a tough sophomore campaign, and while he didn't come away with an interception, he tallied 14 pass breakups and was a tough player to beat each week. Things have been far less positive opposite Griffin, though. Trey Flowers was the other starter last season, but he earned just a 53.9 PFF grade and gave up over 700 yards in the regular season. Quentin Dunbar was supposed to step in and solve that issue, but his role is now in the air following an off-season arrest. Dunbar was a perfect fit for the Seahawks scheme. Without him, that second spot is once again a major concern. The slot cornerback position was such an issue a season ago that the team ran base defense with 3 linebackers on a 68.7% of its snaps, a full 30 percentage points higher than any other team. Especially now with the trade for Jamal Adams, the Seahawks add one of the league's most valuable safeties and one of the most valuable defensive players and the number 20th player on the PFF 50. Adams is one of the few safeties who makes an impact in coverage, in the run game and as a pass rusher, and he can deploy several different ways to add value to the Seattle defense. If they want Adams to fulfill the traditional box safety role in their defense, he's more than capable, but it also makes sense to tap into his ability to impact the game from all over the field. What's the best bet for this team coming into this next season? We saw no O-line movement after the Seahawks had a trade to get Jamal Adams. The Seahawks are a team I'm higher on when it comes to betting and expectations. I give them a higher chance and better probability of making the playoffs this season. I do find agreement on their division odds, and the real value is for the Seahawks to make the playoffs this season, no doubt. One enticing player prop is definitely DK Metcalf's over yardage total, no doubt. And I can't wait to see what Jamal Adams and DK Metcalf are going to look like coming into the season, especially Russell Wilson. I am excited to see. In my opinion, he's the second best quarterback in the league, no doubt. I just can't wait to see what this team's able to do this coming season. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I really do hope you all have a nice day. Peace.